Sure.
What's up, everybody? You guys ready for the Walking Dead panel?
Yeah.
Come on, you guys can be louder than that.
We're keeping you awake, are we?
We got a zombie in the front here. I hope you have a question for these guys later on. Yeah. So, Vincent M, Lew Temple, guys, Walking Dead, Oscar and Axel, the initial prison survivors, right?
Yeah.
Let's just get into it. Walking Dead, global cultural phenomenon. Were you guys aware of The Walking Dead before you got the gig?
I had no clue what it was. Honestly, and they said, you got a part on The Walking Dead. I said, well, what's The Walking Dead? I said, what is it about? They said, it's about zombies. I said, well, we're watching TV about zombies. Come to find out everybody is watching this. No, I had no clue what the show was about. I didn't know anything about the comic books, nothing.
I did. I had seen the comic books or the graphic novels come across my desk based on my horror pedigree, and I thought they were very graphic and very well done, but like Vincent, I was like, there's no way they can make a television show because it's too graphic. They can't do this. And then lo and behold, they did. My first exposure to it was being brought in to read for the role of Merle. And then a month later, they said, will you come in and read? Remember you came in for Merle? Will you come in and read for his brother, who didn't even have a name or sides at the time? I said, what do you want me to do with his brother? And just do it like you did Merle, but different. And thankfully, Mike Rooker and Norman Reedus got gigs. We're happy for them. And then when Axel came around, they thought of it. So I did know a little bit about The Walking Dead.
But do you ever sit back and say, how come you couldn't have thought of me for a bigger role?
Well, no, because I think they did think of me. And I feel like the exact role that I did was what I was supposed to do for The Walking Dead, and I was proud.
You were just about to make a move, and then you catch one in the face.
It's
spoiler alert.
Yeah. It's what do they call it? Circle of life. Yeah. Those things happen, and no good deed goes unpunished, as they say. So I was. But there was an episode that Carol and I were missing in the generator room. There might have been some.
Is that going to be on like the deleted scenes of the season down the line?
I don't know. It's up to her. Whatever she says these days, she's the dictator. She's amazing, Melissa McBride right now. Her transition of her character's been a lot of fun for me, and but the main thing is we had a great time being there. I think while we were there, we did beyond what we were supposed to do, and had a great chemistry and a good friendship. Obviously, that's still today. So,
when you guys got the roles, did you then go back and read the comics, the graphic novels, to kind of get some idea of how to play it, or? Okay.
No, for me, no.
No, absolutely not. I hadn't even seen the first or second season. I went back and tried to look at it, but I couldn't. And the reason why, because by season 3, the group was so, strong and fearless. When I tried to look at season 1 and 2, I was like, who are these people? Because it was like, run, there's a walker. See, by season 3, they were shooting up everything. So it wasn't the same for me because, to get to know them and get to know the characters in person was totally different from seeing them on season 1 and 2.
What were some of the experiences you guys had, like, on the set that really stand out to you?
Oh, there's so many. There's funny ones, there's difficult ones, there's heart-wrenching things, there's just work. The first thing, it's a job, make no mistake. It's like working a construction job. For any of you construction guys, you're outside all day in the heat of the sun waiting for the cement truck to show up and rebar and haul it off the back of the truck and get it moved to the work site and then start building. And that's essentially what we're doing. And then to just continue and repeat this to get the shot right until it gets dark. And then you shut it down, you go home, wash up, get something to eat, and go to bed so you can get up at 5 a.m. and do it again in the morning. And so the satisfying part of that is at the end of the week knowing all that you had accomplished for you all, this amazing episode. To think that you did that in that short period of time is very gratifying. So, but we had a lot of laughs. There were times that Vincent and I would just look at each other. Because remember, we came into season 3 when The Walking Dead hadn't expanded quite to that point. And we were the first group of new cast members for quite a while. They've been at Herschel's Farm for a long time, right? And Woodbury hadn't really landed just yet. So these new 5 beings in their world was strange. And so, and we were caught off guard by some of the stuff going on too. So we would laugh and, I don't know.
It's like I remember our very first scene when they walked in and we were behind the cage, and the first scene was Herschel getting his leg cut off. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, what the hell am I into right now? What is this show? So, I mean, that definitely caught me
It was
off.
easy to say, holy shit.
Right. That was his first words on the show.
But I will say this about that scene, which in particular was set the stage. It was our introduction, but the cast that had shot that scene for them the day before, but they all came in that day to relive that scene or do it for us the way they had done it, and they weren't asked to do that, so that our reaction would be appropriate of what that was. And so that showed me right at that point in time what this show was and the work ethic of this show and how much care. And that's a big part of why the show is as successful as it is. It's just that everyone's pulling on the same side of the rope. There's not really anyone that's looking out for number one or going against the scene.
No egos, no drama, just teamwork. I mean, and another thing, if you're going to be there on set all day with a certain group of people, you might as well try to get along. You're there 13 to 15 hours a day in the hot weather. You have no choice but to get along. So
yeah, you're hot. You're hot, dehydrated,
miserable.
The scenes are long. You're trying to figure out, how to recreate something. Director says cut, doesn't like it. What did I do wrong? Clearly it was me just standing here.
A lot of times people say they want to be walkers until they get on set. We've seen plenty of people quit after lunch.
I've seen pass out. You'll be, at that prison out in Georgia. How many people have been to Georgia or the South? Thank you. So you'll know, a little hot and humid. It's hot up here. It is, no doubt. In Sacramento, I'm sure it hits 100. But it's 100 down there with 80, 90, 95% humidity. So I've watched walkers out in the field outside of that prison just fall down. Dehydration, heat, sunstroke, down, man down.
Yeah.
Leave her there. Don't let her, you just leave her. Is still alive, right? All right, we'll get to her. And
then you have to worry about us hitting you,
Yeah.
hitting you, or you have to lay on the ground and there's bugs attacking you all day.
It's some work.
It's hard.
And also it's 4 hours of being built, and you have to go to a zombie school, a walker school, so that you understand how to move and how to sound. You can't just stand normally. You've lost mass and body mass, and and the sound has to be specific, and they fail people. You know what? You're not good. We had that NFL guy. Remember him?
Ward, Hines Ward.
He was big. He was too big to be a walker. He looked ridiculous. But he was somebody's buddy.
We're going to throw it to questions in just a moment. I did want to ask, though, on y'all season, you were the first new characters to really come in a long time. And so much of your time on the show, you guys, the main crew doesn't know what to make of you. There's a lot of standoffishness. And it took a long time to kind of ingratiate. In some ways, as soon as that happened, you guys were gone.
Yeah.
What was the dynamic between you guys and the core cast? Was there, I mean, I know it's a job, but was there any standoffishness there to try to keep it authentic? Or?
I remember it was the episode T-Dog and they got killed. So they were, Lori, they were having a going away dinner. And me and Lew, we already felt like, you know, like we were taking somebody else's place. So we didn't want to go. They made us come. They was like, no, you're part of the family now. This is what happens. You have to be there. So we ended up going. It was sort of weird, though. But.
So the answer is no. You're brought into The Walking Dead to help carry the load and to participate and bring something to the party. You know, you bring some chips and dip and some dessert because that's how we work here, and that's kind of, you know, I hope that's still the case. The young people or new people that I talk to indicate that it is. But, you know, Andrew Lincoln, John Bernthal, Sarah Wayne Callies, Jeff DeMunn, they started this show, and they didn't think it was going to go past the 6 episodes that were ordered, and didn't think there'd be more than 100,000 people that would ever watch it, so they decided they would do the best they could. And they kept that focus about, let's do better work than we've ever done before. And then, of course, it lands. And so that's the bar that they pass on from me to you each time, you know. And there's just this inherent responsibility you take on when you become a player on The Walking Dead to carry and pass that torch on. So, no, there wasn't any method acting that hey, it's us and them. There's a lot of discussion about how do we do that. There's a lot of discussion about A, we don't know you. B, you're prisoners. You're in Georgia Correctional Facility for a reason. Can we trust you? Besides the Andrew Lincoln, you know, Rick Grimes distrust in his own work. So we had many discussions, and a lot of our character arcs are about giving people second chances. Both of us, you know, Vincent, it arguably as memorable a scene as the season had was when he gives the pistol. You remember when he gives the pistol back to Rick. And that's a lot of trust and faith. So the judging a book by its cover was the tone of that season.
Were Oscar and Axel guilty?
No. Guilty of being in a walker apocalypse.
We have any questions for these guys? Well, they don't. I do.
Okay.
So
no questions.
All right. So when we get back to the table, don't ask questions. Ask questions now.
What was it like?
I was buying, you know, as a fan of the show, I was sad to see both your characters go. Oscar's character, I thought was, you know, didn't get to say a whole lot, but, you know, had a presence about him. And the way his death was handled made me mad.
I'm still mad.
Because, I mean, here he is, he's in this firefight with the core group against Woodbury, and then they're making a break for it, and I see Oscar stumble, but then he's gone. Like, I don't see him anywhere. And apparently he got shot or something. But, I mean, was there more to that scenario that didn't make it into the show, or?
No, that was it. That was it. And it's crazy because my parents became, my family became big Walking Dead fans. And, you know, I had to tell her, I was like, look, I'm going to let you know right now, I get killed in that episode. And she's like, no, baby, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. So I'm like, Mom, it's cool. She said, I can't watch it. So she TiVo'd it, DVR. Took her like 3 or 4 weeks to watch it. So she finally watched it. And then she called me. She's like, did you get shot? I was like, yeah. She said, I just saw you fall off the bus. I was like, yeah. She said, and that's the ending they gave you. I was like, yeah. It's some bullshit. Yeah. So my parents was upset.
Well, you know, I was saying the same thing in my house. That is not right, because you just had that. You had that moment where you give it back to God. I mean, you are now a part of this group, and it just felt like very unceremonious. So I was feeling for you on that episode. I really was.
Yeah. A lot of the build was to help. You know, unfortunately, we were trying to, it turns out, you know, we're there to sort of propagate the governor's, you know, his violence, his credibility with despicableness. And so for them to go into Woodbury and leave without a casualty would prove the governor, would maybe cause question if the governor had the hammer. I guess Tyrone hit the hammer. Tyrese. And then for the governor to attack the prison and not draw blood, he'd be impotent, right? So these are things that we were, you know, trying to propagate the myth of the governor, so that he really, you know, or we end up being those vehicles, right or wrong.
And I actually told Lew, I said, man, they got me going to Woodbury, and I don't think I'm going to come back. And he was like, what did you hear? I said, I didn't hear nothing. I just got a feeling I'm not coming back. And lo and behold.
Does the script read Oscar falls off bus and is never seen again?
I'm gonna tell you something that's funny. So I'm sitting in the makeup room, and I'm talking to somebody, and I see a new script. And I'm going, you know, of course you go through it, you're just looking for your name. I get to the very last page, it said Oscar dies. I'm like, what? throw the script down, and 2 minutes later, Andrew Lincoln comes in. He comes in with this, Vince, sorry, I heard you're not going to be with us any longer. And I'm just, you know, I'm sorry to hear that. I was like, yeah, I just found out too. He said, nobody told you? I said, no, I just read it. He said, I'll be right back. Before I knew it, it was all kind of producers and executive producers coming there and apologizing to me. And I gained so much respect for him for the simple fact he didn't have to speak on my behalf. You know, but it happened, you know. I enjoyed being on the show. Maybe I'm still laying in Woodbury, who knows?
I kind of thought, because, I mean, anybody who's familiar with, are you guys familiar with the graphic novel? The comics? No? Awesome, 2 of you, awesome. The scene with Herschel, when you know, there is the lopping of the head, I thought maybe Oscar was captured and was coming back, and you were going to get the Tyrese treatment from the comics. You know, I thought that would have been amazing. But, yes.
Yeah, everybody kept mentioning Tyrese. They're like, are you Tyrese? Are you going to be Tyrese? I'm like, I don't even know who the heck no Tyrese is. But now, wish I was Tyrese. No, I enjoyed being myself.
Lew, you know, your turn as Axel, we kind of touched on earlier, like the moment where he meets his maker.
Yeah.
In the comics, there's a bit more of a sexual shadiness to the character.
Yeah, there's definitely actual, in the graphic novels, had a certain lasciviousness that that we did, just for reference point, we did maintain a certain things in the closet. You know, I kept Axel buttoned up, and so that if we wanted to unpeel him, because we did talk about a storyline where he was going to take either Carl or Beth out into the woods for a mercy killing to end the apocalypse, and the survivors were going to chase him. So there was an element that we just didn't get that storyline. The first one was going to be a brother storyline with Daryl and Merle and that thing. And again, it just got down to, we need the governor to draw blood, and you're out. And so different than Vincent, they had learned their lesson. By the time they got to me, they had told me 3 weeks in advance. And but it wasn't a certainty, and I had a lot of people going to bat to stay on the show. And there were some regulars that were being considered taken out, so the governor was going to take out. But it just came down to me, you know. So, your first thing is to deny. You know, you try and talk them out of it, and you rewrite. Hey, I got this idea. This is good, and then you figure out that it's going to happen, and you just try to do your best job. You try to honor your character, Axel or Oscar, and you go out with honor and dignity. Was really all we were trying to do. So. They asked if I would want to come in and help write it, and I was like, no, I would mess it up. But I would say that I'd love for it to be rather shocking or a gut punch, and I was really pleased with how we were able to execute that.
Well, see, I as a fan, I kind of knew you were not long for the Walking Dead world because they spent the first 5 minutes with you.
Yeah.
And I've noticed on the show, whenever they spend,
set them up to fall.
They you know, same thing with T-Dog. You know, he got a lot of screen time on that one, and then he was gone.
Yeah.
But I thought the way they handled your death was fantastic.
Yeah, the shock of it, I think, was great, and still to this day, people offer that, wow, that didn't see that coming. And
two of the more shocking deaths.
And that was really my intention, was to not indicate it, to make it a happy day, kind of sad. It was good to be here at the prison. Life was going to be okay. You know, Rick's going a little crazy, but he'll fit right in. And my brother's a SOB, and bang, what happened? You know, and then I'm a human shield. I'd like to think I helped maybe preserve Carol's life, that she can kick ass the way she is. But yeah, and the thing that we always talked about, Vincent and myself, was that in order to be able to tell a standalone story like they were doing with Morgan about the prison and the transition into the apocalypse, the walker, everyone turning, and what the prison must have been like, the prison riot scene, and the campfire story that recounts that, I thought would have been great. And we talked about that quite a bit, but none of us lasted to be able to retell that.
I don't know. We didn't see the body. So I think maybe tomorrow we could start like a hashtag Oscar Lives.
I'm fine with that.
And then he can make a comeback and say, you guys left me.
Yeah. Like the Revenant. He could come back.
Exactly.
He could come back after Rick and everybody and take out everybody.
He's got a bear skin on.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions for Vincent, Lew?
Everybody excited for tomorrow?
Yes.
Big plans. We just keep going. Time marches on. We got Negan showing up, right? With his
When we say excited about tomorrow, we're not talking about Valentine's. We're just talking about the show.
That is that's Valentine's.
Going in, did they tell you, like, hey, you guys are going to last X number of episodes and then die?
No, they pretty much buy you in for a long haul, and you think, I built a swimming pool. I can't fill it up with water, but you think you're going to be there for a long time, and they, it's funny. We both have really great stories about coming in. I showed up as a heinous serial killer, and very hard and ugly, and something like what we're talking about with Negan, and those were the notes and the tone that I got. By the time I got on set, by the way, never seen a name like Norman Reedus or Andrew Lincoln anywhere around. I thought I was duped and was doing a webisode. But then, an hour before finding out that I'm to play Axel comedic and lighthearted and fun and entirely different, they keep you so unbalanced. And one of the things about the show is it's so organic because they don't. A show like The Wire, for instance, writes the entire series in advance. The Walking Dead goes how you go. You get tired of somebody, they're watching you. They're watching you watch. They'll know, and that somebody's going to go. So it's very organic, and they don't want you to be too
comfortable.
Yeah, that's for sure. And they bring in different directors so that you don't keep repeating the same camera moves or the same work process. So, but you know, in his story about what he came in to do, it's hilarious. You know,
I came in. I was supposed to play a character named Mouse. So I get there on set. I'm like, you know, meeting Lew and the rest of the guys. I'm like, yeah, I'm playing Mouse. Then the guy who plays Big Tiny was like, well, I'm here. I'm playing Mouse. Now we all sitting here like, what's going on? And then there was fake this and fake that. So it sort of threw me off for a loop, you know. But I was told I could be there 7 to 8 episodes. But I was like, I'm gonna do something and they gonna keep me longer. And it's just like the guy who played Irony Singleton, played T-Dog. He was told, I think it was like 2 episodes, 3 episodes. He ended up staying 3.5 years.
They released something where they actually weren't sure if he was going to die in that particular. They were back and forth on the writers were and everything. It was right when you guys start getting likable, right when people are sort of, hey, you're getting, just like you said, we're getting used to you,
yeah.
And you know, and you're starting to learn more about the character and like them, and then boom, you're gone.
You know how many times I got called T-Dog 2.0?
Well,
but I think we're watching a trend, and I'm not being critical of the show. As the show's opening up, as we've become a little desensitized to losing people, we're starting to get to know the people that we're losing a lot less, even less. There's people going down in Alexandria that we barely knew or care. I hate to say that, you know, but so you know, I don't know. It's changing a little bit, and now we're going to get into this new area. You know, we thought Terminus was the worst thing that we could encounter, and Alexandria might be a safe haven, and now look where we're at. And so it's a runaway train, you know, but I think it's still great, and the people on the show are great.
honestly, the prison arc is my favorite so far.
Yeah, it's a good arc.
Awesome.
We worked hard at it. I think because they were still on the mindset of a small group, a small little tribe that we were invited to be part of. But now they're so exponentially larger. You know, just imagine it's your group and then standing room all of a sudden in the back, where your questions have to be fielded, and the guy in the backs too. So it really, they don't have the type of time. I talked to Andrew Lincoln the other day. He can't do the same type of work that he did 2 years ago, even though he's still doing great work.
What of yourselves did you guys get to bring to your character on the show? Did you guys get to inform the character at all?
I think one of the things that we brought that they were looking for and they may not have really was a certain chemistry of lighthearted fun that Oscar and Axel kind of had. You know, you like these guys, you know, and I think there was, you know, I don't want to call it comedy because it's certainly not a comedy, but there was probably some things we did that y'all smiled at a little bit more than you've had previously.
Because it was always dark all the time, at least like with us, you like,
yeah.
then you go right back into it.
Yeah.
Well, I know the scene where they were seriously considering like killing all of their characters,
Yeah.
just to not have to deal with it. And Oscar's like, I got nothing to do with this, you know. He's like, no, here, you know, whatever. And just those moments of like natural levity, I think really helped kind of ingratiate like fans to y'all's character.
My character wasn't too far from who I really am in real life, to be honest with you. I've been in a situation like that where somebody has pulled a gun out on me. And I knew the guy. We went to high school together. And I basically told him, just like Oscar told, Rick, you do what you got to do. I'm not going to beg for it. And that really and truly happened to me. I really and truly do have a family. But I haven't gone to jail for breaking and entering or anything like that.
Well, accused.
Alleged,
yes.
Right. And it's funny because I didn't even know what I was in jail for until listening to his lines. When he was like, well, Oscar's in here for B&E and he's not too good. He's not that good at it. So I didn't even know what I was in there for. So.
Yeah, and that was that dynamic, because I'm going to sit and beg and talk because that's who Axel would be, and then that he would have the pride and dignity to not. I thought it was just sort of good yin and yang, which worked through the show, and I felt like they were connecting with that. They just got caught short. They recognized that the show was moving faster than they were, so they had to catch up and pull us off.
And it's hard to compare that third season. I'm not just saying it because we were on it, but the stories and Woodbury and the prisoners and the characters on the third season, that's tough. It's tough to, go better than that, but we'll see.
Got a couple questions?
I just have a quick question.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. You couldn't have it.
Vincent,
Yes.
do you follow the show now that you're not on the show? I mean, do you have a tendency to go, well, I just want to see what's happening? I mean, I'm just curious.
Not really.
No.
Not really.
sounds-
I might check it out if I hear something. Might
Yeah.
check out the season finale or the finale. But it's not because I'm not on the show anymore, because I didn't watch it before I was on the show.
It's obviously your mom's
Yeah,
not
so,
watching it.
I try to look at it like, I wish everybody the best, but it's time for me to move on
Right.
past that.
Right. But Lou, you do follow the show?
I follow the show a little bit, not as much as what I like about the show now. It's hard for us because we're around the cast a lot, and we'll go to dinner, a few glasses of wine, and everyone's talking. So it's hard not to hear what's going to happen. That's actually not as fun as you think it might be. And so I appreciate the show for the same as anyone else as a fan, and I don't want to know. That's what the great thing. You don't want to know what's going to happen. You think you do, but you really don't. And so I try to keep distant to understand what's going on with the show. And I like to play the gas with it a little bit. I like to say, well, here's what I think. And most times I think my ideas are better than the show's, like the rest of it. But
And even working on the show, 9 times out of 10, we didn't know what was going on.
Well, that's what you were saying. They did a rewrite and you found out the day you went in for makeup or something.
Yeah, a lot of times we didn't know what was going on. I remember one scene, we had finally saw Carl for the first time, and was it Judith?
yeah, with a baby.
Yeah, it's like, who is this little boy and this baby? We had never seen them until we was filming. And it was the part where Rick was flipping out, his wife
And the
was
boy
just
had a
got killed.
gun. I was like,
Yeah.
In the middle of the scene, I'm like, dude, there's a boy with a gun.
True story. We was just like,
And we were laughing. It was like, look at the little boy with a gun. Big old hat on. And everyone's crying, and we're like, that's weird. There's a boy with a gun.
and a baby. So,
We had another question?
Going back to the beginning when you guys had asked that you didn't know how big it was going to be when you started.
For sure.
Now that you have been on something that has been so big, and with the rise of fandom, how they are now, how does that, as an actor, do you take that into consideration when you're trying out for a role now, that it might be something that's going to be a huge fandom?
It's hard to say because I think that, again, this show is so special in the organic build. And the reason it works is it starts with the writing, which is so good, and everybody's work. I haven't been on a show since that's worked as hard or as focused or as well.
Is there anything that you might want to
It would have to be something that's out of the box and that like this, and something that is a vehicle against the norm. This is a metaphor for life. Not one of us wakes up without a need to survive. Walkers are a metaphor for our mortgage, the price of gas, our politics, a loved one suffering. You know, the walkers are just a vehicle for those obstacles. And so to build something like that, as opposed to copycatting Z Nation or whatever, no, I'm not interested in that. But if I could build a metaphor for what we're struggling with in life, that would be interesting. I will say this, The Walking Dead is difficult work because of the responsibility to deliver. I have worked on other shows since. There's less responsibility. The difficulty is not as much. It's kind of nice not to have to do the really heavy lifting. It's a little bit more fun sometimes, but the gratitude, or I guess the validation of good work for that particular show. But no, I don't look at shows and go, this could be another Walking Dead. I'd rather look at shows and go, that's the problem. Like Fear the Walking Dead, for instance. That show deserves to be its own show, not The Walking Dead's little sister. But it's going to be very hard. We all already know what those we can't watch and go, no, don't do that. Shoot him in the head. No, don't. You can't stab him in the stomach. Because they don't know, but you do. So perversely, it's wrong, you know. And I sure don't want to do that show, you know, because they don't know what's going on. But I look for fresh stuff. Probably.
Forget what he said. I'm going to Z Nation and Fear the Walking Dead. No, I agree with everything what Lew said. It's hard to top that, you know. But you definitely don't go in there thinking, you know, the show is going to be bigger than The Walking Dead or whatever. What people don't realize, this business is tough. It's a tough business. You have to have tough skin and have patience, you know. And just to be working, that's the most important thing to me.
Another question?
As far as when Lori was killed, or however you want to put it, I mean, that's got to be one of the most morally just wrong things on,
that was difficult.
on TV in general.
Yeah.
What was it like on the set when that was, you know, both announced and when it was actually going on?
It was difficult because, again, she's the mother of that team. I don't know if you were here when I explained about how her and Andrew built this with John Bernthal. So that was the Earth Mother of the show. She was, Sarah Wayne Callies kept this thing together and made sure. She was the very first person that came to us and said,
she made us come to the dinner.
Welcome to my show. And so it was tough in that realm. In the fact of how that scene played out, that at the time a he was 11, at the time, a boy, you know, this age, to do something like that, no child should have to do on television. Or no child should have to do in life, let alone television. You know, no one under 16 should be asked to do that, what he had to do.
Nobody should be asked to do it, period.
Yeah, so he'll never be the same as a human being. It's all well and good for great entertainment. People forget about what those effects would be for a person. And, you know, we have to work really hard to protect a young person and his psychological movement forward. And those are serious things. We spend more time talking about on the set about, you know, we're adults and we knew the world before this, but he hasn't, and Judith doesn't. And what are their dreams or their memories going to be? So that was difficult. Anytime I think you deal with children on set, you have to be careful, and you have to be aware. And I feel like that heightens that awareness of just your work, but also, hey, let's take care of everyone here. So there's that. For me, that Carol look at the flowers, a little bit worse, personally. I had I took exception to that scene because I don't know if anyone here has a child that is handicapped or suffering, but I know as a parent, not one of us could put that child down for any reason, good or bad. And so, go ahead.
Do you think what Carol did was the right thing?
I'm saying it wasn't. I'm saying she's not a parent if she did it. I called bullshit. Sorry. I was on the air calling bullshit. I was in Atlanta, Georgia on the Walker Stalker podcast. And I said, a parent wouldn't do that.
What?
You just couldn't do it to your child. There's parents here. You just can't. It's not human. And if you say that you lost that humanity, that's the thing we were trying to hold on to. Then the show is done. The minute you lose hope, right? You turn in, you watch it for the hope. Who's your favorite player? Okay, but you hope every day that he's going to keep doing and getting through it, right? And he does too. So if we lose hope, and that's why players like Dale and Herschel and Oscar and Axel are important to the show, and Abraham, because they reflect hope. Fervent, passionate, idealistic, human, planetary inhabitant hope. And so that's what I thought. We jumped the Shark Tank just for a second with that, particularly as it relates to a child.
On Lori's death, was there any way that just said, hey, we can't do this?
Sure, but it was difficult. It was done very privately. First of all, it was a closed set on the day. A lot of us recognized how heavy that was, and I think it was done with the best care as possible. It was a witness to an execution, and some of us had to be there to make sure it was done right, that people were protected, and so.
And that's when we met Carl right after that. When he comes walking outside, that's when we see him. Like, what the hell going on?
Yeah.
So it was sort of strange,
That's one of the amazing things I think about the show, though, is like to have that kind of reaction to seeing something so horrific, like Carol, doing what she did. The thing about the show is that there's lots of questionable acts that happen throughout the show.
That's what the great thing. I mean, because you tune in, you put yourself in their shoes. We all do. That's the water cooler talk. That's what's great. That's what the show is. What would you do to survive? And I think that's why it's so relatable.
And watching people you care about make the wrong decision.
And decisions, lines of morality have been crossed, right? I mean, in this type of setting, what is the right thing?
It's just like, everybody always think about how high the ratings are, or how many fans you might have. But how many fans did they lose after those type of scenes too? You never know. Some people might be like, I'm not watching this. That's not what I want to see. So you never know.
We've got a few more minutes. If there's any other questions, please throw your hand up. Yes.
So how much do you enjoy having from your director? Do you enjoy a kind of a chillax, relational director, or do you enjoy kind of a straight, keeping the professionalism straight, director? And is there a balance there?
I think it's a balance. If I'm doing something wrong, tell me. But if you just directing me on every little move that I'm making, then I'm like, oh man, you saying I want you to walk like this. I don't like that type of stuff. But if I'm not doing what you want me to do, then just say it. I don't have a problem with it. I'm supposed to listen to him. So.
I like a guy that has a plan, or a lady. We work with a lot of ladies that has a plan, that has a vision, and I like to have the confidence that they can see it through and that they'll have an answer if I have a question. And my favorite thing in a director that I look for in all directors, and I get from maybe 20%, is what I call actor instinct. And that's that a director can come up to me and speak about intention in the scene the same way that I approach a scene with intention, and can give me some sort of a direction that I recognize as actorly and instinctual, and then he's got me or she has me for the entire shoot. But other than that, we have a saying on set: you got to pack your own chute. So in other words, you jump out of an airplane, you want to know when you pull the ripcord, a parachute's coming out, and out a bunch of pots and pans, right? So the only way to know that is pack your own chute, and that's what you have to do on set. You can't rely that the director's going to take you, because that's your bottom up there on the screen, and if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to show up. So, but I pack my own chute until the director proves to me that I can trust him to pack it. And I apologize for saying him, because I'm a big advocate of lady directors. There's only 7% in Hollywood that work, but it's getting better, and some of my best experiences have been young ladies directing.
Lou, didn't you say you had different directors each?
Yeah.
Was it each episode you had
Yeah.
different directors?
Uh-huh. They like to do that to keep the show fresh, keep the show not the same, doesn't stagnate. Vincent takes the director out, gets him drunk week after week, doesn't get preferential treatment because it's a new guy. Vincent doesn't do that. He doesn't even drink. So they like to keep everything off balance, as Vincent said, and that helps with different directors. And of course, the directors like to come in, and there are these action guys who have directed Hell on Wheels and Breaking Bad, and they come in and they want to put their own stamp on the show, my thumbprint on the show, and they, it takes them a couple days, but they get in line. They get in line on, like I like to say, the same side of the rope, and we all pull.
And sometimes it's good when it's a lot of different directors, because that director might go to another show and remember you and be like, oh, let's bring in Lew Temple. I work with him over at, on The Walking Dead. So I like it when it's a different director.
Well, let's bring in Vincent M. Ward. Let's kill his character off properly.
Hey, man. Hey.
What's done is
I'm
done.
just laying the wood there like this.
Well, that's all the time we got. Give it up for Vincent M. Ward.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Enjoy your day. Come see us.